The Chicago suburbs. It's dead this time of year. Businesses are running on their last dimes, and people are really fucking cold. Case in point, this guy, yeah, me, outside my studio, smoking a cigarette. I started up the Sketchtistics earlier this summer. It was more of originally it was supposed to be a mockery of the cliches of music, and it was supposed to be like more lighthearted, but then some of the music kind of took on different tones and different lives of its own. And there's been at least 3 albums, the 4th one in production, the Mystery, Interstellar Connect the Dots, and we've got Red Light Means Go, and there's a former one that I didn't really mention too much, but it's been fun in general. I mean, it's definitely been one of the most interesting projects I've ever done because it's kind of like my Sgt. Pepper's. I'm not really performing live. My acoustic got busted before I left California, so I kind of lost my ability to perform live after that. And I've been more of helping out the music scene around here ever since, just in turn, just to kind of keep active with it and still, keep in touch with everybody and help everyone out. So that's kind of what I look to do, I think, with the studio in general as well. I mean, I hope to be performing as well soon, but Sketchtics alright, that's good. I want to show you some of the artwork and various kind of eye candy around the studio. We got this from Iowa. This is Come Back with a Warrant from some Iowa people. I was more than grateful to receive that. This is what I keep right above the rack. It's O'Keefe, Reinhardt, and Paul's Christmas letter. I don't know, I think it's good for people to see that. It's inspiring. And then, oh shit. And then, over here we've got the living artwork of the studio, which is the mass accumulation of most of the things consumed in the process of recording by me. So, kind of had too much fun over there. And then, along this wall, we've got a thing that is called the psychodetectometer, alongside with a bust that I made in high school of some really creepy guy with tentacles growing out of him. But this psychodetectometer was once actually supposedly in operation to judge if people were criminally insane or not, and due to the point that it had a high susceptibility and sensitivity to EM waves, it was known to falsely accuse people of being insane or being criminal. So it's got a really weird history from it. Brian Zieske had given it to me right after he had closed Gallery. It was from the basement of Gallery, and he had brought it up, and I mean, it was literally falling apart when I brought it home, but it's fun to bring it back. This organ is a Wurlitzer. A lot of people have braved it, found times where they had to break out on these bass pedals, which is a go-to solution to anybody who wants to sound a little bit like Billy Corgan with their low frequencies. You just distort the hell out of it and then put it on a 610 or really meaty preamp, and you get a unique sound from it. So yeah, this is on fire.
Hi, I'm John Waldschmidt. I represent the band the Pterodactyls.
How long have you been playing music for?
I've been playing music for... I started playing music in 6th grade. I bought my first guitar at Perry's Guitar Music Shop.
What musicians inspired you?
Like the first band I can say that really inspired me was The Strokes. But bands like Velvet Underground, The Modern Lovers, Led Zeppelin.
What was one of the first projects you were in?
The first band I was ever in was a band called The Triggers when I was in 7th grade. I started this band with Henry Brenner and Grant Brenner. They are now the bassist and drummer of the Orwells.
What do you think of the Orwells?
I think whatever they're doing is good for them. Maybe redo that question.
Oh yeah, no, that's all good.
You're like, ask me like, I don't know how I can sum up, like what I think about the Orwells,
Yeah.
Because I was in that, like, I don't know, I guess you could say, I've known a lot of the members of the Orwells since I was younger. I've been good friends with some of the members.
One of the former projects you were in, SSKGB, what do you think about that?
SSKGB, I'd say, was one of the better projects that I've worked with, better bands that I've worked with. I enjoyed working with those guys. I've been friends with them, some of them since, like 2nd grade. I had fun playing shows, made some good records with them.
Would you be in it again if you could?
I would be, I'd like to play music with them again, but I feel as though certain things have lifespans. Things run their course. That band, like, it had its peak, and it, things end when they're supposed to. So I guess I'd say I'd play music with them again, but I wouldn't necessarily want to revive the band SSKGB.
long have you been playing music for?
Been playing since I started playing saxophone, probably when I was 9 years old.
What was one of the first bands you were in that was the most influential on the way you play music?
Probably Montezuma's Revenge.
Oh, who was in Montezuma's Revenge?
Dave Birchfield, Jake Schweiss, Mark Monahan, a whole cast of fine young gentlemen.
What kind of music was it?
Rock and roll music. It was like punk. It was like a punk band, pretty much.
What year was that when it was around?
It's like 2002.
Oh, gee. Yeah, definitely. So that was when the scene was still. What do you feel about like the scene around here and over the years from then to now, and like the ability to play shows at venues and get word out? Like, do you feel like it's as accessible now as it was then?
Well, I think that we've gotten older. People have gotten older, so venues are like more welcoming. You know, especially if you turn 21, then that's sort of like a whole nother, you know, side of bringing kids to venues. Because when you were younger, you know, people weren't really drinking or anything like that, so it's hard to like even get a ride to a venue. But I think that Elmhurst is very welcoming to like a creative group of people, or you know, creative young men and women that play in bands and do all kinds of stuff, because there's money in Elmhurst, and you know, generally our parents can afford to buy us instruments, and there's just culture, you know. And I don't know if it's not even like a money thing necessarily, but like you know, people get inspired by seeing their friends play music, so it sort of adds to the musical community and like the artistic community, stuff like that. Especially in like high school, when you're around a lot of people your age, and you might not have like adult responsibilities and stuff like that. So
That's true. I guess more of what I was asking is because I should have rephrased. Is because not about the Chicago scene, how they've got, you know, the 21-year-olds playing at the bars and stuff, and they're still in that draw. I guess more of how is the accessibility to success in this area if you were to be starting like back when you were in Montezuma's Revenge, if you were to be doing that now, and to be looking for venues around like Elmhurst. Because I remember when like, you know, 360 Skate Shop was around, and that was a venue, or like when the Wheaton Grand was open, and people were still going out of that place. And I've just noticed that the accessibility to those kind of venues isn't really there for younger kids, I kind of feel like. And I don't know, that might just be a thing with me. I don't know how you feel about that, but that's what I was wondering, is what you thought about that.
yeah, I mean, I definitely think that there's not really a great place for kids to play music. I know that there was like Mark Allen. There's a guy who was putting on shows in like the basement of churches, and we were playing concerts there with like the Villains of Verona and like, you know, bands of that era. But I think it could be hard. It could be hard to find a place that's willing to house young kids and let them play music and like get rowdy and sort of like do what they want, and still give them the freedom to do what they want, but still kind of supervise them. I've sort of been on the loop too with the scene in Elmhurst, because the nice thing about turning 21 and, you know, having a car and being like semi-adult is being able to go to the city and like see concerts at nicer venues and sort of expand outside of your hometown. But I still think Elmhurst is a great place to meet musicians. You know, maybe more when you're in high school, and that's when you're, you know, in your 20s and stuff like that. But my experience with Elmhurst has been pretty providing in that respect.
Do you feel like, though, that as you've gotten older, the amount of maybe like, I don't know if it's isolation, but the amount of like, you know, lack of jamming, lack of having people to be around, you know, that actually maybe makes the music better in turn, that you're able to focus on yourself and focus on what you want to put forth. And it's something that, I don't know, in my own life, from going from California to Chicago, and then being in Chicago before that, and seeing the music scenes in both places, and just seeing how people went about it, that, I don't know, I just, you can lock it. So with your band Motorcycle Crash, I know you make most of the music down here. Can you show me how you do some of that?
Yeah, well, the thing is, because it's just me, it could get tricky with songwriting and recording. Basically what happens is, you know, you can write a song as much as you can by yourself and you can develop it. But if you're only doing it on your own, a lot of the songwriting basically comes through recording and arranging and engineering. So there's sort of like a middle ground you find when you're writing music and you sort of know that you have to record it and you have to do this and that. And it could be cool because you discover things about the song that you didn't before, but it could be tricky too because recording is sort of a long, involved process and this and that. So it's just a lot of repetition. And I use a drum machine a lot of times for demoing, and then I use an actual drum kit with drum mics, so I switch back and forth. So then I sort of mess around with that, and I try and find a good pace, and I experiment with different drum beats. And then I sort of keep with the main guitarist. Usually I start with guitar as the first instrument, and then I try and develop some vocals. It's very piece by piece by piece by piece by piece. And after you hear it many times and you really sort of examine the song from, you know, transitions and this and that, like a lot of times it loses its feeling. So you sort of get sick of the song and you don't really progress with it. So that's just a whole nother side of it, you know. Being in a one-man band can be very liberating and allow you any sort of creative impulse that you want to pursue, but there's a lot of different aspects of it that is not as fun or not even as efficient or you know, productive as being an actual band. So it can kind of suck.
Yeah, it's true. It's definitely got its downsides sometimes, but I don't know. I'd say that the upsides of it definitely pay off when you get a good song together. That I don't know. In my own experience, I feel like other people sometimes constrain the music that I've been writing or kind of put limitations on it. So when I've gotten the chance to compose by myself, I feel like that freedom sometimes, though it's daunting at first, that, you know, I'm not sitting down with a drummer right in front of me and feeling it and really getting into the music, that there's still something there, and I think that it wouldn't be there without that vibe, without that aspect captured. And even though, yeah, it's definitely difficult to be in that position, I feel like, you know, the music pays off as in the whole DIY scene, you know. So I don't know. What do you think about that?
I agree, and it's difficult to actually pursue your own music and maybe develop as a songwriter. If you...
Billy!
What?
Oh, good. Hi, honey. You watching the game?
Don't worry. We'll be done in a little bit.
Oh, okay, sorry. Hi.
That's alright.
So yeah, would you want to show us through how you, whenever you jam out or when you start composing music, how you go about composing?
Sure.
I guess it's even just making some noise. That's cool.
Yeah, a lot of my sound, or a lot of like the attention I put into how I want my music to sound, like is through my amp setup, like my guitar. Like I always wanted to write sort of guitar-oriented music. So this is where my pride and joy is at. This is a germanium drive pedal. It has actual germanium transistors, which is like the original, I guess, element that they used for drive. It's like a big Beatles effect, basically, is that germanium drive. And this is a delay, just like a sort of a standard delay pedal. And then I try and sing out of a half stack, because it gives it like a cool sort of sound. And that's sort of how I approach it. Hey, check. You said, don't know.
There's too much time to wait. You're coming back. There's 16 days to wait. You don't look back. Here you go. To show my song. There's too much time to wait. My song. There's too much time to wait. You said you said
What are your future plans with Motorcycle Crash?
I want to finish up a full length. I have this album cover that I designed 3.5 years ago.
Oh, nice.
And instead of just kind of rushing to get some songs done, to complete it, I wanted to sort of develop as a songwriter and to sort of have it be the best it could be. So I'm just working on that. I have a few songs completed as far as recording, and other songs that I'm sort of messing around with. So
Do you ever plan on pressing to vinyl?
yeah, I would love to.
Yeah, what do you feel about vinyl to other playbacks or other mediums?
It's probably the best. It sounds the best. Everyone says it sounds the best, so I like it. I like the collectability.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with Rhea. That's definitely true.
Yeah, analog.
In your experience at Gallery of Carpet, what did you think of that studio when it was open?
I liked it. I thought it was great. I thought it was top of the line. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, and then formerly weren't you in Villains of Verona?
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
It was like, did you write any of the songs in Villains of Verona?
I don't really remember.
Definitely. Alright, cut.
and for Saturday, slowly receding until I know the place to go. And you see me tonight, slowly receding. So till I know the place to go. See you so wrong. See you so wrong. Take my hand, don't let go. Easy go. I see time to escape. And if Check, check, check.
Laughing in the rain. I don't know what to do. I try to wrap my brain around this little game. Laughing in the
I'm Jesus.
You hear what this guy's saying?
All right. How do I throw a ball again? All right, guys. Peace, love, and war. Strike two, baby. Goes over the fucking line and you know it. That's a damn strike. That's that was great. Dude, that might be a strike.
I decided I don't like the earplug. I like being able to hear all of you instead. I'd rather hear all of you than myself. And, hey, can Sam says, can I have more me in his monitor?
No, just more me and my...
Can I have some more guitar too as well? Good? All right, guys, let's continue. Slow songs to start. We're gonna, get it up a little bit. Gonna get the energy going. Get the energy. I wanna go up. Let me ask these guys what songs they want to play. What do you want to
Right, my point of view, my days,
your guys' band?
We're called the Symposium.
How long have you guys been playing music?
We've been
None of your goddamn business.
we've been playing for like a year, but we've been a band for maybe 10 years.
What
No,
was
we've been an idea for 10 years.
Oh,
We've
shit.
been
What's the name of your guys' band?
We're called the Symposium.
How long have you guys been playing music?
We started like 1982-ish. We kind of had a falling out for a while though. A couple members died, so we had to replace them. Yeah, we're back in business.
What happened to your former members?
We don't want to talk about it. Don't talk about it.
What were
Yeah,
some of
so it's
early
a really
influences,
sketchy question
like
to ask.
bands you guys listened to?
Strokes and the Unicorns, for sure, on my part at least.
Harry Nilsson and Spice Girls.
Peaches.
Blondie and Skrillex.
Peaches, man, Peaches.
Peaches is dead.
Still lives though.
She died.
I think he said
Peaches. Peaches. But yeah.
That's tasty.
You guys recorded at Gallery Carpet a couple of years ago. You got anything you want to say about that?
Fucking tits, man.
Good time, good man.
Yeah, it was a fun recording. Did that in like 2006, I think. And yeah, we laid down a few tracks for an EP and never finished them. So it's sort of just sitting around, but it was definitely a good experience. We learned that recording live to tape is definitely the way to go.
I think what he was trying to say is that every blood moon, the Gallery of Carpet rises from the ashes.
Yes.
And it's kind of like a ghost studio. And we record there in ethereal form, not our physical selves.
I actually once recorded this kid here who lit an organ on fire in the middle of the studio.
That's the ghost, though.
Did he do it with his brain or did he do it with his hands?
No, he did it with a general lack of care. He just torched it.
It's just blowtorch, gasoline.
Yeah, you know,
But then
like,
he
have
was
you
a
ever seen
ghost.
Doom? You guys know that flamethrower, like the special one you get? It's kind of like that, right?
Like if you're
Oh,
playing
yeah.
the game, Doom.
No, but you gotta use the special
Doom
cheats
2.
or else you don't get anywhere with it, you know? You can't really get the special guns until you enter the code.
Not
And you
unless
can't really
you're
get
a
those
fucking
too
badass.
easily.
The Gatling gun. I
Yeah,
remember.
so what do you guys have coming up in for the future?
New York.
Yeah,
Bass lessons for him.
Yeah, we're trying to get him to speak English because right now all he speaks is Cuban.
Yeah, he's a Cuban. That's true. And other than that, I think
it's
we're just.
true, Benny. It's true.
It's
Benny.
true.
It's true.
It's true. Apostrophe.
yeah. In terms of shit we got coming up in the future, we've got a show in New York at Glasslands, and then we're playing another show at UFC on the south side of Chicago. And that's it for shows down the line.
Bar mitzvah coming up too, man.
Yeah, we're playing this dude's bar mitzvah a few weeks away, but 2 days from now we're going into Wall to Wall Studio to do some recording for this new LP we're putting out called New Orleans Jazz, which should be pretty sick.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome. Who's the best bowler of you guys?
I had 2 strikes. Me.
No, I actually took bowling lessons. I was on a bowling team for 3 years. I once scored 266, and I've got a fucking medal to prove it.
Well, so that answers your question.
Definitely.
Yeah, I guess that answers your question.
time. That happened like 8 times.
Not anymore, man.
We changed our ways, dude.
What is the name of your guys' band?
We're the Addies.
How long have you guys been playing music?
Too long. About like 3 years, like 2011.
What's like some of the general influences that started the Addies?
I mean, honestly, we got together because I met Casey in a class at college. And macroeconomics, yeah, surprisingly, not a music class. And he knew Kevin. Surprisingly, I was also working with you, cameraman, at Galleria Carpet at the same time. And Kevin was recording one of his albums there. They were friends at the time, and I went over to their place. We started playing, and then
we met at a party through our girlfriends.
yeah, so small world type shit. But
Yeah, Johnny didn't like me when he first met me. You know, Johnny's kind of stubborn with people and everything else included. The first couple times we met, we just kind of talked about shit. We would do homework together. And I remember I thought he was the douchiest cat in the game because
for get the game sometimes. But
for our first exam, I insisted, hey man, why don't we go back there and I don't know, like sit next to one another. He's like, what do you mean to cheat? I said, well, not to cheat, but just to help one another out. He said, I like to do my own work.
lie. First of all, it was a final exam.
It was not. It was the first exam, you dirtbag. But it took me coming to class on my 19th birthday with a broken hand,
Longboarding there.
incapable of finishing my homework due to my broken hand. I'd gotten in a fight with the refrigerator, long story, but I couldn't do my homework. So Johnny did my homework and realized I was incredibly intoxicated. So at that point, I think I kind of like
won me over with that one, yeah.
Yeah, we got along. And then Caleb is just an instant heartthrob. I love this cat. First time I met him, I just loved him.
Caleb, tell some backstory to how you got in the band, what you've been doing in music.
Well, I just kind of hit it off with Matt at a party, and he said he was starting a new project and had some demos, and then I just came over to Kevin's house, and I really had no idea. I hadn't heard any of the songs or anything, and then I just started playing. We started jamming, and then I guess we clicked pretty well because they liked me and had me back for another practice after that. So.
Yeah,
Sorry, I have dog problems.
We had one song. Nice.
Nice format, Plug.
We had one song at that point, and that's pretty much what we played the whole time, but it sounded good. We don't play that song
Is that
anymore.
Summertime?
Yeah, that was Summertime. Kevin, I
And then
know,
the
it was his favorite
I
song.
remember
He's really disappointed, but
I hate that song.
oh, we had that. We had a few like little.
We had
little
some diddlies.
jams. Funny enough, I mean, Caleb had also done some work at Galleria Carpet with another band, which I knew the lead singer of. So it was, we got to talking about that. I think that's the primary thing we were talking about at that party. So yeah, that's how Caleb joined the band.
In your guys' personal experiences at Gallery, what do you think about it? You guys got any weird or strange stories to tell, or just general stories of compliments?
Me and Casey have been going there for a while. Our the band we were in high school recorded there for 2 EPs, and so I've known Brian since I was like 15.
Got dropped off at the studio.
Yeah, by our parents. And then we did our first record there, and Caleb's worked there before, you've been there before. It's a great place. Since then, I have worked for Brian a little bit, doing recording stuff, and yeah, it was an awesome place. I miss it. It was set up for making records.
Definitely. So coming up with the Addies, what are you guys planning on doing?
We got a few stuff on the horizon. We were working on some new stuff.
We have a few stuff.
Working on
Stuff.
we got a show coming up at Lincoln Hall. So
Yeah.
that's pretty fun.
June 20th.
Yeah.
So not for a while, but we've been demoing some tracks. That's kind of the benefit of practicing here at Kevin's place, right in the basement. You know, we have Kevin's studio, so we can jam right away. We have something going.
And we're gonna do a music video, maybe 2. And we're working on getting that going right now, so got stuff to look out for.
Is it going to be a home-produced music video? Or?
Yeah, we're gonna do everything ourselves. And we got a few ideas, and we're just getting them together. So yeah, I'm not sure as far as exact dates go on next. We've been saying we're gonna make a music video for about ever.
But that's
we had a song, but
that's next
seriously,
on the docket.
yeah. Oh, we're also gonna re-release our last EP with some bonus stuff. We're going into wall-to-wall recording downtown, and we're gonna do a day. We're just gonna do like a live session there, and cut a few of the songs on the record live, and put it back out with those tracks as bonus.
Caleb's been stripping, but it's just kind of since get-go been doing that, so it's not really new.
Yeah, Casey goes every night.
Biggest fan.
Caleb, what's your stage name when you strip?
Lebanon.
That's too good.
Ex-Caleb.
I like Caleb better.
Caleb, yeah. Yep.
But yeah, June 20th, if you want to check us out, that's not necessarily our most important thing. And our EP will be re-released on May 1st. Maybe. No, it will.
DIY.
This is my, you could call it a studio, I like to call it like an overdub suite. I do a lot of stuff here. If you look around, it's really messy right now because we've been practicing. But I got a lot of different amps. I got some microphones. And I do most of the tracking out here. And then if you want to come into the control room, so this is where I do a lot of the mixing and overdubs. I got some nice control surfaces. I use an Apogee Quartet. And yeah, I got my Wurlitzer, which I love, and I'm going to rebuild soon, but for now it's all right. And yeah, I got a few different, I got a reel machine. I use that. I sometimes mix to the 1/4" tape. To get that fat analog sound, but I mostly use it as like a slap delay. And then I got that cheap synthesizer, but you can get some cool sounds out of it. And yeah, what else do you want to know about it?
What program do you use?
I use Pro Tools, and I sometimes use Reason. I rewire Reason back into Pro Tools for some of the effects. I have the Abbey Road keyboard suite, and that's really cool. There's a lot of really cool sounds on that.
What do you think of Ableton?
Ableton's interesting. It's like it's a totally different approach. So like obviously Pro Tools and Logic are based off of like a tape machine and a console, and Ableton is like a recording program that someone like envisioned from scratch, and it works differently. I know some people really love it. I've only messed around with it a little bit, but it's definitely cool. It's like Excel mixed with Pro Tools, so I think it's pretty cool, but I don't use it.
What's the name of your studio?
I call it the Noise Floor, but I guess it doesn't really have an official name yet. But yeah, I've recorded a few people here. Typically what I'll do is I'll book out a studio in the city and do drums there, just because it sounds better because the room's tuned. But I can do drums here. We'll do them in the basement if I want like a tight, like strokesy sound, or up in my hallway upstairs. I do them a lot because there's like 2 floors, and I can put mics way up on the 2nd floor and get that huge Led Zeppelin sound.
What's your strangest recording story?
Oh man, I have a lot from the days that I was interning at Gallery, but I won't share some of those just to, I don't want to out any bands. But, man, I don't know. That's why I love recording. Every band is different. They're completely different. They all interact totally different. It's more of like babysitting than actually making art. You gotta like totally figure out the people and work with them. But it's always interesting and always fun.
Definitely.
Cool.
Jiggle the cord on the amp. Oh, the pedal got unplugged. No, from the power supply. There you go. Just no one bought batteries, huh?
Yeah, we have to,
Let's see power.
we have to go through some science. Fix that shit up. On stage, I'm not gonna know how to fix it. And you're just gonna start it up.
Swipe all the way to the right. Nope. The little.
Good luck figuring it out.
Yep. There you go. You got it.
That's what I went to 4 years of school for.
Push and rise. Push and rise.
Nope.
Is it the back switch?
It's on.
Don't switch engage. It's fucking
They're
awesome.
so
You're
wide.
Same with you were saying. Switch button.
John is a terrible drummer.
Yeah. Is it hot? Is it heavy? Is it heavy and it's hot? It's hot, it's heavy. Alright, this one's something deep. Something I've never shown you.
We're ashamed of you.
Yeah!
Higher?
Shitty part is
Yeah! Okay.
you're hitting the note. That's the
Where are you
word.
going? What the? This is when we start.
Yeah!
Well, you I thought you started, dude.
Yeah, yeah, yeah! Yeah, yeah, yeah! Yeah, yeah, yeah! No, yeah, yeah!
Just let me get a print. I got shit.
You gotta give me like a grimy, like, so I can.
John, you're a terrible drummer.
Johnny had that awesome build up.
No, it still sucks.
2, 3, 4. What? Caleb
I do
got
that.
John didn't just drum so hard. Beat the fuck out of You guys should go solo. Did you break my sticks, John?
If we don't find the next risky war, I tell you we was done. I tell you we was done. I tell you we must die. I'm on about Alabama. Now I must say goodbye. We love our good old mama. Now must have this go. You. He does that. You. Show me the way to the next little girl. Don't ask why. Don't ask why. The way to the next little girl. Don't ask why. Don't ask why. Oh, if we don't find the next little girl, I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die. Alabama, now maybe not. It's breakfast city. We love our good old mama. Now I must let this go. When did you learn that shit?
Me and Jenny were messing with it recently.
So what's the name of the venue that you're hosting here?
This venue is called Hostel Earphoria.
How long have you guys been running Hostel Earphoria?
It's been around for about 3 years now. It was founded by lady by the name of Jules Esch, along with Lydia Palazzolo and their friend Justin Pfeiffer. And they were running it for about a year and a half, doing the shows at the house and the hostel with the travelers and running an open mic. And then they just left about 4 or 5 months ago to go down to Austin to try and start up a sister hostel. And so we've all been living here since then. So I guess 3 years, but this group of people has been here together for about 7 months.
What's like the strangest story that you can talk about that's happened here?
Oh yeah. There's this one time where usually with our guests, you know, we try and have people contact us through Airbnb or Facebook or something, and we like do it like a hostel, you know, we make a reservation and we expect people. But there was this one day that it was maybe Friday or Saturday, we were all having a cigarette out front at like 2 o'clock in the morning, you know, kind of getting ready for bed. And everyone goes inside except one person, and while that kid is finishing a cigarette, these 2 kids come up to the door, and they're like, "Is this Hostel Earphoria?" And he's kind of like, yeah, like, what do you want, you know what I mean? And these kids end up being like, "Oh wait, we know the password," because we jokingly talked about making a password at one point in time, but I don't know if we ever really did it or not. No, we couldn't really remember. And so these kids say this password, and it is what we made it. Like, or if we were to make it, that's what it would have been. So we let them in, and these kids said that they got our address from a dude at a sports bar down on Wells Street, like in the Loop, from some guy who had an eye patch. And so we're trying to figure out, like...
You should have asked him if it was an eye patch or if it was an eye patch.
Like a jacket?
EYE or, you know, like an eye. Yeah, it's
I'm
like...
just like, to this
that's not
day...
the iPad or something.
To this day, we're trying to, like, think of who we know who would be wearing an eye patch or something, or... Either as like a joke or like, I don't know why. I feel like I would remember that person. I don't know, the kids ended up being really cool and it was all fine, but it was just like very bizarre. Just very bizarre.
Definitely. And yeah, piano guy, can you introduce yourself a little bit?
I'm Matt, I live at the hostel. I'm actually the newest person. I moved in the first of the year. So it's been a great 2014 to this point.
How long have you been playing music?
I've been playing music, I'd say, since like 7th grade, but only seriously in the last 2 years or so.
Are you in a project, or do you just
the beginning part's actually with Ben over here.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, so it's early, but it will be often.
So, what is it, Ben? What do you play in?
Well, we were having me play drums for a while, but might play bass or guitar. I know we're both kind of multi-instrumentalists, and we have a lot of friends who are too, so I imagine there will be a lot of instrument switching, but Matt and I write a lot of songs, especially between the two of us, and like I'll write on guitar or on piano. That's what Matt.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Yeah, for sure. Gotta keep us updated on that.
Yeah.
Coming soon, 2014.
We don't have a band name yet. I think it would be, the working title is Bidet by Day. Kind of like bidet is in rectal cleanser. Sorry.
No.
I wasn't sure what you meant at first.
So, what's your name?
My name is Jimmy Cobb.
What do you do at Hostel Earphoria?
I'm a host here. What we do is we take care of all the people that come through. We generally put up like touring bands or international travelers and guests. Generally, we kind of make sure that they have clean beds to sleep in. Sometimes we cook in the morning, make group meals, and also entertain them. So, you know, not all of the hosts book shows or, you know, work the venue. I'm one of them. We book shows here and promote them. So it's kind of a general rundown. I also run the sound here. So does Ben.
Yeah, you were saying earlier you play music. Do you have like a project or something that you're working on?
Yeah, right now I'm working on like a soul funk project. It's kind of like we play a lot of like James Brown songs, Curtis Mayfield, Marvin Gaye, you know, like Let's Get It On, Heard It Through the Grapevine, a bunch of stuff like that mostly. And we don't really actually have a name for it yet. We just started playing gigs recently, so I'm the dedicated singer for the group. And my last group recently disbanded, the Snake Oil Salesman. I was the dedicated singer for that one as well.
Definitely. What do you think about the Chicago scene, the DIY scene around here?
It's growing slowly, you know. Most of the DIY venues don't have as much space as they probably would like, and probably can't fit as many people in as they would like, but it's thriving.
So, hold on one second.
Here, I'll just
I had a
introduce
fucking itchy eye.
Okay. So my name is Jeremy Marsan, and my project is called Marsan. And I believe you just saw the music video.
Yeah, definitely. Who was some of the people acting in the music video?
That's my girlfriend Louisa was in it, and my buddy Sean. And it was filmed by my friend Connor, who's a ridiculously good filmmaker. And part of the reason that video turned out so well is because we both, like, he's mostly a cinematographer, and he's starting to do more directing now. And as a cinematographer, his big focus is on space and the aesthetics of space and the aesthetics of light. And for me, because I make music that's more dimensional, I also have a huge focus on space and how I can convey like different spaces with songs and with effects and just compositions in general. So we both have this kind of obsession with space, you know, like we both love, I think we talked at one point, we hit it off because we both loved maps as kids. We like literally were like really into geography. And so I went a route where I like explored space with music, he explored space with film, and we realized that we could collaborate on something, and that video was the result.
Yeah, that would definitely be cool. Like, that's different to think of it in that way, more of the, so what do you mean by like, so as in, I know some people, there's a phobia of space, the big wide open spaces.
Yeah, the agoraphobia.
Yeah, is that, how do you classify that really? Like, what is it? Is it just a fear of spaces, or?
Well, I think it's a fear of how people put themselves into spaces. I mean, like, people, when you're in a huge open room or in a public space, you feel a lot smaller. And to some people, I don't know, maybe that can be horrifying. Fuck, I don't know. I'm not a psychologist.
No, that's true. Do you want to show us where you do some of the music recording at?
Sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's funny you mentioned
sorry.
agoraphobia, because like the name I put to my project is music for agoromaniacs, which, like, you know, the exact opposite of agoraphobia. It's like the love of open space and spaces in general, you know. Just
so it looks like you have maps in the background of that.
Yeah, it's a ripped up map.
What's the location of the map?
It's actually a place in I think Ohio. This is like, it's like a USGS map, and they actually put these pen strokes in there. So someone actually used it at one point. It's like a watershed kind of thing, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, so the USGS, was that a geological survey?
Yeah, that's I think it's
lines?
the government body. It's
Yeah, I followed them before to look up some of the stuff when I was in California to make sure there wasn't earthquakes coming. Yeah, so, is this that's the album cover right there?
No, it's actually right here.
Oh, that's cool.
But I, in the process of making that, I just kind of tried a bunch of different things and just kind of tried to find out what worked best.
Definitely.
There's another one behind you.
What is this? Sucra.
Oh, that's actually, that's what Shy Guy Says turned into.
Oh, so yeah, that was the one with, was David Hubble in that?
No, that's after Hubble left, Sean took over as a guitarist, and we had Chris Finelli as a drummer. And so we decided to change the name because it was two new members. So basically a new band.
What's some of the pedals you use?
I use, you know, whatever, basic distortion, fuzz, a big muff to get that. I guess the real interesting pedal I use is the Space Echo. Not because not as a guitar pedal, but I use it as just in general, like off-board gear, like sending anything through it to just give it a warped effect.
Yeah, that's kind of how I would use my analog one that I had. Was I would track things and then send them back through it. So kind of like use overdubs through it.
Yeah.
And then track it in that way. So that was kind of like having control over it rather than with the digital. You don't get the control of the wonkiness. I feel like from the analog, which is that sometimes the analog one, the tape would go out of line, or it would kind of like mess up a little bit, and you get this imperfection that was just key to it. And it's like I wonder how the digital compares, if it replicates that well enough. But I mean, I've heard the digital, I like it personally. I'm not like dissing it or anything, but it's just coming from both. I feel like there's a subtle difference between them. But I mean, at the same time, it depends on what you're using, because you might not want that wonkiness, and that's the whole thing with, you know, the digital era going out of, like, you know, the real era or the analog era, is that you can't really depend on that stuff for live performance 100% of the time. And I mean, really, you get different effects every time you go and put something through it. So I don't know, I guess it depends on where you're coming from. What do you think about like that whole thing, like the digital and real?
I think it's cool. I mean, you get a much more interesting tone with that kind of stuff, but I kind of made a decision that like I couldn't afford an analog transport. So I was just going to use digital technology and do the best I could with it, and just kind of accept the digital aesthetic. Like I recorded some stuff direct in with, you know, a digital preamp, and I used some digital clipping, and I think it may not sound the prettiest or the warmest, but at least it's consistent, which is, I don't know, the most I could ask for in making it out.